And we have companies reevaluating their decision to move supply chains. They moved them out of China during the trade war, but now with the coronavirus pandemic slowing down things in India and Vietnam, some businesses are moving back into China. Joining me with more is Nathan Resnick. He is the CEO of Sourcify, which matches companies with factories around the world. Nathan, welcome. And I found this quite surprising because China's economy had been so hard hit for the last couple of months, but also because the relationship between the U.S. and China just seems to get worse with every passing month.
Definitely. Everyone in the supply chain has been playing a really crazy dance right now in terms of the past 2 years with all the trade wars between America and China. And then in February, of course, with China being in complete lockdown with the COVID-19 outbreak. Now what we're seeing in China is their supply chain is back online, but there's been a trickle down effect across Southeast Asia into Vietnam and India, where right now, those two countries are very slow. I was talking to a colleague in Ho Chi Minh last night, and she said it's starting to go back to normal. But, for the past month, it's really been locked down.
Yeah, so that being the case, what's going on in Vietnam and India that places, and again, Mexico is a big beneficiary of people starting to move out of China. Is it because they want to now leave those newer countries, or what's going on here?
I think it's two-sided. Number one is everyone in Asia, they have to understand how to contain COVID-19. That's really, first and foremost, the most important factor here. And I think, too, on the back end, a lot of these brands that are importing from Asia and in particular from China, they're trying to understand what is the future consumer sentiment really, feel like when products are made in China. Are people going to be against manufacturing in China and buying products from China because of this outbreak? I mean, there was definitely trickle-down effects from consumers to really understand where their products are being made. And there's been a whole push for transparency in the supply chain for the past 5 years.
Right. So now, the thing is, these supply chains, I imagine you can't just move them on a dime. It's a huge problem for companies to try to go outside of China. Are they just finding it's too difficult? It's just easier with everything going on from coronavirus to, disputes between, leadership of both countries, that it's still just easier to keep their supply base in China?
The fact of the matter is China is, the manufacturing hub of the world, and if you look at from a raw material resource standpoint, a lot of those raw materials, even when the products are, produced in Mexico or South America, a lot of those raw materials are still coming from China. And so you have to really evaluate and understand the whole supply chain to see the whole trickle down effect in terms of, which way the supply chain's heading. I think a lot of these brands right now, they've reverted some production back to China because of the, impact of COVID-19 in India and Vietnam. But, I think at the end of the day, the past 2 years, they just transitioned a lot of production outside of China, and now they're bringing some of it back. It's going to be really interesting to see what the future of production looks like for these large Fortune 1000s.
Yeah, so just finally, which industries, which kinds of companies in particular are you following here, the ones that might be kind of going back into China and perhaps staying there longer than we would have thought after everything that happened in the last few years with the tariffs and trade disputes?
Definitely. I would say, a lot of fashion items, a lot of accessories, some industrial, some automotive, and electronics as well, especially with the tariffs the past 2 years, a lot of electronic manufacturing tried to move out of China. Right now, China's back online and at full steam. So that has gone back into China.
All right. And I guess those are that may be a good thing, you could say for consumers, it certainly negates some of the price increases they might have seen otherwise, but obviously a lot of geopolitical problems as well. Nathan, thanks. So we appreciate you joining us with this new information.